Welcome back to MVS Technical. When you are hunting electrical gremlins hidden deep within a modern luxury SUV, the actual testing is only half the battle. Before you can even touch a multimeter to a faulty circuit, you have to bypass a highly engineered, tightly assembled interior without causing thousands of dollars in cosmetic damage. There is zero margin for error. Finding that first gap, applying the precise amount of leverage, and trusting a hidden clip to release instead of shatter requires absolute patience. Over the next 6 minutes, we are going to map out the exact sequence to safely strip the steering column shrouds, drop the lower dash, and extract the center console of this Range Rover. Completing this surgical teardown is mandatory. We have to expose the vehicle's central nervous system so we can run true live circuit diagnostics while the modules are communicating. Step 1 requires checking our toolkit. Leave the metal pry bars in the drawer. To safely breach these channels, you need non-marring plastic trim tools. Starting at the lower driver's side fascia, wedge your plastic tool at the outer corner. Apply steady, even pressure away from the dash. The technique is to pop the aged, brittle plastic clips straight out so they don't shear off inside their mounting brackets. Once the panel is down, notice the brightly colored wiring bundles near the driver's side pedals. Looking upward at the illuminated white dials, the instrument cluster is active. Keeping the system powered on allows us to immediately monitor the dash for fault triggers. This powered state is exactly why metal tools are a liability. You are working mere inches from live, bare wire contacts. A slipped screwdriver will cause a short or blow a fuse, creating entirely new electrical problems before your testing even begins. Reaching this exposed state without triggering a single dashboard error code gives us a clean baseline to work from. Now, we trace those lower arises up into the steering column. Shift your focus directly behind the steering wheel rim. We need to tackle the upper and lower plastic shrouds that enclose the column. These two halves are secured by hidden recessed torque screws from the bottom. You locate these blind, feeling up underneath the lower shroud with a long driver, applying just enough pressure to break them loose. This careful technique prevents stripping the screw heads. With the shrouds removed, this image shows the dark, cramped layout of the steering column architecture. Pay specific attention to the delicate green and yellow wiring bundles looping loosely on the left side. They connect to your stock switches, so do not tug on them. Protecting those fragile stock switch connections ensures the vehicle's primary driver inputs remain perfectly intact for when we begin interrogating the modules. Leaving the driver's footwell, we move to the center transmission tunnel to clear out the largest obstacle in the cabin. The sequence here is strict. First, peel back the long side trim panels from the bottom up. Once those are clear, you have the clearance to unclip and lift the gear selector surround completely off. Next, locate the bolts securing the primary CD and DVD drive chassis to its mounting bracket. Unbolt the unit, disconnect the rear harnesses, and carefully free it from the dash. Here is the targeted end state. You can see the stripped central tunnel, exposed media drive, and the active display. The silver chassis sits dangerously close to the screen. Below, in the empty cavity, notice the bright red emergency release strap. You must route your tools and your hands carefully around that strap. Snagging it while you are probing wires will mechanically trigger the transmission interlocks and drop the vehicle out of park. Exposing this tunnel is necessary because this specific wiring harness is the critical data bridge. Every piece of telemetry coming from the rear vehicle modules bottlenecks right here before spreading up into the front infotainment network. Clearing this central tunnel gives us the physical access needed to tap the exact communication lines connecting the mechanical chassis to the digital screens. Let's review the current state of the interior. The cabin is thoroughly stripped down to its core architecture, yet the network remains completely electronically alive. We now have unobstructed physical access to every major control module, grounding point, and wiring loom spanning the front half of the vehicle. Executing this exact level of clean, surgical, and safe disassembly is the daily baseline requirement for any vehicle that enters MVS Technical. You've successfully navigated the physical teardown without causing damage. So, grab your multimeters because the real diagnostic work begins now.